Hey guys, it's me, the guy who downgraded from the Profitec Go espresso machine back to a Gaggia Classic Pro. And it's been about a year since I downgraded to the Gaggia Classic Pro version 2 that I bought here in the United States. Now, this is 2024 and this is February 2024. I just found out, or not just found out, I know that Gaggia has made a improved version of the Classic Pro version 2 immediately, not long after I bought my version, the Classic Pro version 2. This one had some highly recommended upgrades from the actual consumers, but this one is only released in the United States market. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Classic Pro Evo features more stainless steel components and a somewhat controversial decision of a corrosion resistant or coated aluminum boiler. Everything else, I believe, stayed the same. Oh, and also a 9-bar over valve pressure or OPV overpressure valve, protection valve, whatever it is called. So bring it more in line with more high-end espresso machines, which for the most part features a 9-bar OPV or a adjustable OPV for people who likes to tinker. So I just bought it because it's the exact same amount that I spent for the Gaggia Classic Pro version 2. And today is going to be another interesting video for you guys because I want to compare the Gaggia Classic Pro version 2 that I bought and unboxed about a year ago with the brand new Gaggia Classic Pro Evo. Okay, so for your convenience, I actually loosened the screws and I'm gonna open up both the top part to show you guys the difference between the version Pro version 2 and the Pro Evo. And also I'm going to show you guys the component or the brewing group over here, as well as what the internal looks like, or if there's any difference between the version 2 from a year ago and the Pro Evo. Okay, I personally don't think there's going to be much difference, and it's even evident from the packaging of the Classic Pro Evo. They're still using the classic packaging from a year ago. The only thing different is the model number that they pretty much just added Evo right here. And again, keep in mind, I believe this is only for the US market. If you're living outside of the United States, let me know if they also released the Pro Evo version outside of US. And you also have to keep in mind, the United States uses a 110 power voltage. So in terms of heating performance, the brewing performance, the steaming performance, if you live in a country that uses 210 voltage, it's going to be different. Of course, 210, everything is going to be more efficient. It's going to brew faster. It's going to steam faster. In the United States, 110, everything is going to be slightly slower. So keep that in mind. There we go. This is the Classic Evo. And this is not even my second Gaggia. I had so many Gaggias before. I have the standard Gaggia Classic, and I had Classic Pro, and I have Classic Pro version 2. This is my fourth unit, Classic Pro Evo. And try to see if there's any difference, if at all. So the physical appearance seems to be exactly the same. The material they used appear to be exactly the same. Even the cutting of the holes and position of the knobs. Yeah, it's pretty much just a Gaggia Classic Pro version 2. And I'm just going to remove the top, okay? So, put the old parts here. And the knobs looks to be exactly the same. those tubes, thickness of the tube is, interestingly, they used a thicker water drawing tube. So this tube is actually slightly thicker. So I'm assuming the water flow is going to be slightly better when it tries to suck the water from the reservoir. And the overflowing tube appear to be the same. All the cutting holes, everything else, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Okay? All right, so in the advertisement, they said they made some internal improvements to the design of the internal. So let's just take a quick look. Okay. All right, let's open up the top because I'm interested to see if whatever they said is true. Now, I believe pretty much all the parts are interchangeable between the Pro version 2 as well as the Evo. I'm just going to call it Evo from this point on. All right, let's see if I can take it out. So here we go. So it is out. The internal, there are some slight difference. Okay, so interesting. All right, let me unplug this. Okay. And I'm going to keep the new parts and the old parts side by side. All right, looking at the internal, let's see if I can compare it for you. All right, now I can already see the difference, okay? Let's see. So, in terms of upgraded internals, the switch gets some sort of like a protective cover on top. So the switch connectors are no longer exposed. So that's one small upgrade. And obviously, keep in mind, OPV valve has been and interesting because this one, the Evo, actually had a bent temperature sensor right here. I don't know what happened, but that temperature sensor is actually bent. And this is a brand new unit. I'm going to try to bend it back just a little. So probably something happened during transit, right? And this one is actually straight. Also interesting is there are some white grease on this temperature sensor here, but there's no white grease here on this temperature sensor. That's for the steaming, I believe. A steaming valve are all stainless steel. I remember the old valve is probably brass, but this one is stainless steel. And just looking at the wiring in general, not much has changed. The wiring pretty much all stayed the same, and even the coloring of the wires, okay? So besides that, they said they also improved the pump performance to make it slightly quieter. So if you look closely, okay, I just switched to the brewing group area. This brewing group is stainless steel. And if you look over here, this brewing group is actually brass. It's polished brass. So it does also look different in terms of the edge, the look of the edge. This one is just chamfered, and it's got one polished edge over here, and this one is actually rounded out. So that's one immediate difference, and this is brass, and I'm gonna assume it's lead-free brass, but keep in mind, even lead-free brass exposed will release a tiny amount of lead. So personally, I would probably have preferred stainless steel brewing group, because for a Gaggia Classic Pro at the entry level, this is not going to make any kind of significant difference. Okay, but it's interesting that they changed the group head. I don't know if I can't remember the old group head. I remember the old Classic had a brass group head, and that was the difference. So now I also going to open the this shower plate and see if the internal I don't know how do you call that internal thing is stainless steel, or if it's aluminum, or if it's brass. So give me 1 second. Let me just try to open it up. Because on the Classic Pro version 2 that I bought, when I did unboxing, I told you guys it's stainless steel, which this one is also stainless steel. So that is a much welcomed upgrade, actually, because the old Classic had a aluminum shower plate, and it oxidized so badly with the coffee. But the stainless steel one is in very, very good condition. So I'm going to open up also the old version Pro. This is what it looks like after about a year of use without any cleaning. The plate is a little dirty, but I'm sure if I wipe it with some water, it's gonna become pretty clean again, just because it's coffee grounds and stuff. And I don't even think it's scale. So I'm gonna just wipe it for you guys to see. Okay. So you can see the plate is in very good condition. It's stainless steel. It's not gonna corrode as bad as the old aluminum plate. And that's the orange colored silicone O-ring that I upgraded. And everything else, again, it's about the same. About the same. Yeah. The brewing group, okay, the brass brewing group is thicker. So that's definitely gonna help with temperature stability of the new Classic Evo. Okay, the stainless steel, as you know, it's not in terms of temperature stability, stainless steel is going to be slightly inferior. So really there's a give and take in terms of what you really want. If you want temperature stability, you go with brass, but there is a slight chance, there's a small amount of lead that's going to be somehow getting to whatever you drink. But the temperatures are going to be a lot more stable for more consistent espresso making. If you go with stainless steel, then of course it's super easy to clean, and it just doesn't corrode like some other materials like aluminum or whatever. And but the shower plate on both, this is all upgraded from last year on, so I don't think they're going to change back to aluminum plate. So that's probably a much welcomed upgrade. There is a MET rating and there is a label number. The label number for both are exactly the same. So in theory, they didn't change the electronic designs or the safety designs of both devices. So in theory, they are pretty much still the same machine, and maybe just, an improved version of the older versions of the same device, right? And again, they said this is a one-piece stainless steel. Yes, it does look like it's actually, I would say it's two-piece stamped together for both of those. And yeah, there's no difference in terms of the exterior upgrade. They just, in the marketing, they said, oh, it's a one-piece stainless steel, made you think it's an upgrade, but it's exactly the same, okay? So let me put the device back together, and we'll continue with our discovery of the differences between the Pro version 2, or I'll just simply call it the Pro 2019 version. And this is the shower plate that I always upgrade, the IMS shower plate. Those shower plates looks better too, with their kind of clustered shower holes. And this is what the Gaggia comes with. It kind of looks cheap. So I usually just get a new shower plate. And they're not expensive. I think like less than $20. And this is the shower plate that came with the old Gaggia. As you can see, no change, exactly the same. Shower plate hasn't been upgraded, okay? All right, so let me put everything back. All right, so before I put everything back together, right, I thought I would do a side-by-side comparison of the Classic Pro 2019 version / version 2 and the Classic Pro Evo. Now, immediately, I would say it is probably worth the upgrade if you are buying this machine brand new to get the Classic Pro Evo, because the Pro Evo has a full brass brewing head. The full brass brewing head is going to have better temperature stability when compared to a stainless steel group head, which might require less maintenance, slightly easier to clean, but in terms of temperature stability, the full brass is still gonna win and stand out. So if you couldn't find a Classic Pro Evo, you know, as a used unit, Classic Pro is still a fantastic espresso machine to get. And because as evident, I've brewed more than 2,000 shots of espresso and lattes, and it never give me any issue, and the latte tastes pretty consistent throughout the last year that we've used the machine. And granted, we only use one kind of beans, so the consistency is there. And but those are kind of nice upgrades to have. So if you're able to get the Pro Evo for a better price, why not? But I'm pretty sure the Pro is going to be selling for a lot less than this year's model, right? So there is your decision, whether you want to save a little money to get a reliable machine, or you want to go with the newest, supposedly best budget espresso machine out there. And in terms of the shower plate, both machines use a full stainless steel shower plate, so there's no difference. But the group head is the biggest difference. All right, now let's take a quick look at the accessories of the Gaggia Classic Pro V2 and Classic Pro Evo. Okay, the biggest difference, everything else looks all pretty much identical. The baskets, single serving, double shot, pressurized baskets with a little pressure valve is all the same. The brewing basket for double shot also pretty much identical, right? Okay. What's interesting is the escape valve, water escape valve, or OPV valve, whatever it's called, this tube which ejects additional pressurized water out into the basket catcher, like right here. So this one came like very scratched up and it's not polished. This is for the Evo Pro, and on my Classic Evo, you can see this thing is polished very nicely. It's like a mirror finish. So if I put them side by side, you'll see the new one is actually pretty muted and the old one is nicely polished. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. But what's also interesting, and I think what adds most to the appearance of the entire machine, is the brewing the portafilter. Okay, I would say the portafilter is improved compared to the version 2 from the Evo Pro. The Evo Pro basket is beautifully polished. Okay, this is like up there with $1,000 and up espresso machine portafilters. Okay, and again, I believe this is brass, chrome plated brass, but it's beautifully polished. This is the new one, and from the Evo version 2, you can see it's very rough. It's very raw. They didn't spend much time to improve the look or the appearance of the portafilter, at least externally, but they did pay attention this time with the new one. Look at the difference. Okay, the old one is very scratchy and rough. New one, super smooth, including the sprout The sprout is also very nicely polished where the old one is not. So just for that, yes, this is beautiful and it's worth the upgrade if you can find a new Evo Pro for good price, or just buy it brand new. It's not terribly expensive for espresso standards, and this is a huge improvement. Look at this thing, it's beautiful. Okay, all right, and that's pretty much accessory wise. You still have the same crappy espresso temper. Yeah, just get something better from Amazon, like $10-15. You can get a really good temper. This is crappy, and it's even worse looking than the Classic Pro, right? Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a sound test from the Classic Pro version 2 and Classic Pro Evo. As I mentioned earlier, when I was making the espresso and lattes, the Classic Evo sounds slightly louder than the Classic Pro version 2. But again, you be the judge, okay? So here we go. This is Classic Evo. One more time. So my opinion is that the Classic Pro version 2 had a more high-pitched noise, where the Classic Pro Evo has more of a low-end noise, which I guess to the ear sounds slightly less irritating. And keep in mind, this is before you put any portafilter in there. So of course, all those noises are very subjective, but in terms of the sound noise level, I do not hear much of a difference. They sound different, but there's not a loud and less loud kind of a difference, if you know what I mean. So the steaming action kind of feels a little weird on the Classic Pro Evo. First thing first, the wand, the hole is actually pointing to not a good direction for steaming. Let's see. Yeah, it's like pointing this way, where the old one, or the Classic Pro, is actually, if I open it up, is kind of pointing this way. So it makes the milk easier to spin inside the jug. But on the new one, it's actually slightly offset to a weird position. And also, as you can see, it took me actually a lot longer to steam this jug of milk as opposed to the original Classic Pro version 2, which, you know, didn't take that long. So that's something interesting, but I'm pretty sure it could be because the machine is actually super new. It needs some sort of a breaking period to just have everything kind of aligned and getting to usual working order. But that's my initial observation with the new machine. Let's see. And the espresso smells great, the one that's brewed. So definitely no complaint about the quality of the espresso, and also it's able to produce some nice microfoams. I'm going to show you guys. Let me just get it nice and evened out. But this steaming is definitely a little weird for the first try. I'm going to explore a little more and then let you guys know later what's going on. Okay. Get my camera angle aligned. Here we go. Right, so in terms of, the quality of the latte and espresso that you're going to be making, it's good. All right, guys, so here is my opinion towards the brand new Gaggia Classic Evo right here compared to the Gaggia Classic Pro from year 2019, which they did some slight improvements compared to the original Classic Pro, okay? The espresso came out, tastes pretty much exactly the same. There's no difference in terms of, you know, the taste, despite having a slightly different brewing pressure. My espresso came out tasting, my latte at least, came out tasting pretty much the same. It's got an intense flavor, and it's pretty milky, and it tastes good, right? Again, espresso taste is extremely subjective, so I don't want to comment on the quality of the bean or, you know, your personal brewing techniques. But if you're looking for a significant improvement in terms of improving the taste of the espresso by upgrading from Gaggia Classic Pro to the Classic Pro Evo, no, you don't have to, okay? The only improvements to me, subjectively, is the appearance is nicer, the subjective feel of the brewing temperature is more steady, as evident, or not as evident, but as showcased by using a full brass brewing group. And the beautiful portafilter, it's nice. It looks really high-end compared to the old one, which just looks rough and raw. The brewing head also looks higher end. As you can see, this one is polished brass, and this one is just a rough looking stainless steel. So appearance-wise, yes, you're getting a upgrade. The machine looks nicer just in general. Performance-wise, exactly the same, all right? Just don't fuss over getting rid of your Classic Pro because the Evo had, you know, full brass group head and improved pump mounting, whatever. The noise is exactly the same. It sounds different, but the noise level is the same, all right? So, and what's also different, and I haven't get used to, is the direction of the hose on the steaming wand right now is different. The old Gaggias are all the same. They all kind of go this way, but this new one kind of goes this way, which is like totally threw me off. But I guess I have to get used to it. And so, do you need to spend money to upgrade to the Evo, the Pro Evo, when you already have a Gaggia Classic Pro or even the Gaggia Classic Pro version 2? I would say absolutely not. But if you're in a market just looking for a entry-level espresso machine that gets you consistent, good quality espressos and lattes and no fuss, definitely buy the Classic Pro Evo brand new, because it costs around $400. It's practically nothing, okay? In the high-end espresso world, this is kind of laughing stock, but don't get me wrong, it makes very good espressos. And again, that's also the reason why I downgraded from a Profitec Go, which is, you know, more than $1,000, back to this machine. It's reliable, it's consistent, it never let me down. So I hope you guys found this comparison video helpful. I know it's pretty long, so yeah, bear with me. And if you have any questions in regards to any of those machines that I mentioned, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below, and I'd be more than happy to answer those questions for you guys. And again, my goal is not to trash all the high-end espresso machines. My goal is just to give you a very subjective but reasonable comparison between the Gaggia Classic Pro models that just came out and one that came out a few years back. So it took me a while for me to make my conclusion video since I unboxed the Gaggia Classic Pro Evo and compared it with my previous model, which is Gaggia Classic Pro version 2/2019 version. And the reason I haven't concluded is because I was online and doing some research about the new Pro Evo, and the most talked about is the new coated boiler with the, how do they call it? Food grade anti-stick coating. And that coating is supposed to be preventing the scale buildup as found on the aluminum boilers. And as you know, aluminum boiler is kind of hard to descale once that scale starts to build up. So Gaggia came up with the solution, and obviously people found there are defective boilers surrounding the new boiler with a coating, and they do some sort of test with the steamer wand tip removed, and they have the water flowing through to the a clear glass cup. And they say if you find any kind of small black dark particles, that was from the coating, and you need to return your unit before it's too late. Otherwise the coating is going to cause cancer or whatever, that, you know, kind of things that's going to happen. I'm sure those instances have occurred, but I think people are blowing this, what the so-called Boilergate issue, out of proportion of what Gaggia is trying to achieve. Now, granted, I don't get paid a cent to advertise Gaggia products. I simply love their products. I tried other brands, I tried other espresso machines, and they just don't work as efficient as the Gaggia Classic Pro. And so this is my fourth unit probably from Gaggia, and I think I am at least experienced to tell you that no, they're not trying to upsell a product. This is an excellent machine. Granted, if there's no issue that you encounter, you're gonna love this machine to death, okay? As did me and my wife. So don't take the so-called Boilergate out of proportion and think that this is a defective machine. It is not. It is fantastic. It took me a while to make a conclusion because I want to make sure that this machine is what it's supposed to be, which is a budget-friendly espresso machine that makes excellent espresso. And again, no, I am not getting paid by Gaggia to do any kind of reviews. This is just our own espresso machine. All right. So thanks again, guys. I'll see you in the comment section below. All right. Take care.